Well, hello and welcome to another Made in England with me, Richard Vobes. I think I'm about ready today for another week of this new format that we're trying out. I had a bit of an accident earlier today. If I turn my head there, you probably just make out I'd sliced the almost the top of my head off. It wasn't that I was feeling depressed or down in the dumps or anything like that. Please don't think that. I have been mucking about with my double-edged razor. When I say mucking about, I was hastily shaving this morning because the lovely Julia was in and we needed to film The English Couple. And we've got an episode out today. It's all about schooling, going back to school and all those sort of lovely things. Was schooling the happiest days of your life? No, wasn't for me either. But never mind. That's in that video, and I'm hoping that my head will not bleed all over the desk and cause us too much mayhem and chaos in today's Made in England. He presses the button and nothing happens. Why is that? He's in the wrong sodding button pressing situation. Well, here we are once again, ladies and gentlemen, and it's lovely to be here with you. And the aim is to produce another week of shows. We're going to give it a whirl and see what happens with all errors and everything else thrown in for your amusement, mostly your amusement. Fiddling about with the old desk and trying to get the buttons to come out and make it as slick as possible. It's not going to happen, is it? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. As long as you can hear me and see me, then I'll try and do my best to entertain you. Now, I like to start the show with what's happened on this day. We're recording this on the, what day is it? The 14th of November 2022. You might be watching this on another time. You could be watching it. You could be a time traveller who's come from outer space and has landed in here, and this is the first thing you've discovered. A little bit of technology that's managed to somehow invade your communication device, and it's like, oh my goodness, who's this bald idiot nattering away about nothing in particular? Well, let me give you a précis then of what happened on this day. Just a couple of items. In 1687, the death of Eleanor Nell Gwynn, long-time mistress of King Charles II of England and the mother of two of his illegitimate children. Julia and I have been reading a book called Georgiana, the Duchess of Devonshire, and it's absolutely fascinating how much of the elite, how many rather, of the elite, you know, the big sort of aristocratic families living in London, probably all over the place, were having affairs left, right and centre. And this Georgiana, who is the centre of this story, she is a gambling addict and she ends up costing the Duke. I started to resent this woman. She's supposed to be who we're, fall for, or is our what do you call the character that is the main lead that you're supposed to have sympathy for? Well, her. Anyway, and I kept thinking, look, you've got to stop gambling, woman. For goodness sake, no wonder you keep getting into debt. You don't ever seem to win. Have you not learnt anything? Anyway, it was interesting to know how many times they've got illegitimate children here and illegitimate children there, and they hide them away. Yet they're all at it, and yet they're hiding them away as if, nothing. It's like corporations, isn't it? Like these corporate companies who are all glossy on the outside on their magazines, and they say, oh yes, we'll look after your money, or we'll give you this wonderful service. And then when you ring up to have this wonderful service and you've signed up on the dotted line, they're immovable, and that you're just another number. You're just one of millions. And he's like, yeah, what can we do for you? Oh, no, we can't possibly come out and sort out your utility problems today. Your internet going down, is it? No, we can't possibly. He's like, well, wait a minute. On your glossy thing, all these lovely promises, it's that kind of thing. It's all going on. We all know that it's going on. We all know when we sign up to these companies, it's going to be a bit shabby. But anyway, there we go. That's 1689. Now, something else interesting happened. I've got to go and have a look at oh yes, 1896. Here we are, the speed limit. This is interesting. The speed limit for horseless carriages, i.e. sort of cars, what we call now motor cars, in Britain was raised from 4 miles an hour, and it was 2 miles an hour in the towns, to 14. Can you imagine going around at 4 miles an hour? It'd drive you bonkers, wouldn't it? Mind you, they didn't know any different, so I suppose that's it. It was also marked by the first London to Brighton car run, which only became a regular and official event from 1927, it says here on this little web page that I'm looking at, which was sponsored apparently by the Daily Sketch. So that's very nice. Now, I've got some pictures. I suppose you'd like to see some pictures of these early cars. Of course you would. So let's see if I can whack one of these pictures up on the screen for you. Here we go. These are getting ready for the first London to Brighton, or one of the first. Look at all those lovely kids there with their hats inspecting that vehicle. It's great fun. I love all this. And here we are. Look, the crowds are drawn out for the horseless carriages. It seems that people hadn't really experienced this sort of thing. Oh, hang on, there's some bit of blurb. You're not supposed to see that. So let me just give you some information here. Driving cars or owning them was severely hampered by an iniquitous piece of legislation that restricted all of self-propelled vehicles to a maximum speed of 4 miles an hour. 4 miles an hour, as I say, very slow. And it required them to be preceded by a man on foot, although with a red flag. But apparently that stipulation had been removed about 20 years earlier, so it wasn't actually, but they hadn't told anybody, it seems. So for 20 years, this man was walking. I guess if you're going at 4 miles an hour, that's quite a brisk pace, isn't it? Anyway, it goes from 4 miles an hour to 14. The hated 4 mile an hour limit had been impeded for decades, and the reason, it says here, which I found was quite interesting, was to stop huge and heavy steam-powered traction engines from damaging Britain's roads. Now, I can't imagine that you could get traction engines going that fast, not like 30 or 40 miles an hour, but maybe you could. I suppose the steam power could do it. That could do it. It's those big steeled wheels, isn't it? I believe they did have steam-powered cars, and you'll see some in the London to Brighton races, when they, not races, but the rally when they all go off. Anyway, but it clumsily drew no distinction, here we go, between 10-ton road locos and the much lighter motor cars, and the authorities stubbornly refused to see the difference. Well, the authorities stubbornly refused to see differences all the time. Late in 1896, a change in government did away with the backward-looking speed restrictions on cars and driving, ditched the man on the foot stipulation and raised the speed limit to 14, and it brought in the new motoring age. Well, I suppose if you could at least go at 14 miles an hour, you could then, go around the countryside. It's 30 miles an hour seems incredibly slow to a lot of people, apart from, going past schools, which I think they've now reduced it down to about 20, which is rather good. Now, the London and Brighton, which is the pictures that we've just had a look at, and I've got one more picture to show you. Hang on, let me just get that up on the screen here for you. Now, where is it? There it is. Hang on, I just got to have a cough. Just fade the microphone down when I have a cough. Sounds all very professional then, you see. Few people had seen the motor cars in numbers. Oh yes, that's what I was saying before. The novelty is alleged to have drawn a fully 500,000 sightseers to the run start outside the Metropolitan Hotel in London's Northumberland Avenue, although it's very doubtful that such a crowd would have left any room for the cars, it says. Yes, maybe that wasn't. Anyway, the idea, I think, was to go from London Metropole to its counterpart in Brighton, which is incredible. And I have actually did do a podcast once where I interviewed some of the drivers, and somewhere I've got that in my archive, but I can't find it. I don't know where it is. So anyway, that was the London to Brighton, and the fact that the speed limit... I'm trying to shut this down. Do I want to save this text? It keeps saying, no, just shut the sodding thing down. Thank you. Right. Now, of course, the London to Brighton... there's a beautiful feature film. Do you remember this feature film? Anyone? There we are. Look, Genevieve. Do you remember that? Kenneth More. Good old Kenneth More. And John Gregson, I think, was in it as well. And Larry Adler played the harmonica. What a lovely... Do you want to see the actors? Here we go. See if we see the actors. There we are. Look, we don't get to see most of them for some complicated reason on the display mechanism that I have here. But it's all very fascinating. It's all very lovely. Right, now I've got to just kill these files. Thank you very much. You don't need to see this bit, but I have to do that whilst you're surreptitiously taking a slurp of coffee. Meanwhile, whilst you're taking that surreptitious slurp of coffee, in 1922, the BBC had its very first broadcast. And I'm guessing that you'd like to see its very first broadcast. Well, it so happens that thanks to a big negotiation and a huge amount of money passing hands, I have it. This is the BBC Home Service broadcasting from Worthing in West Sussex. We are broadcasting today to let you know that the BBC has changed to the VBC, the Vobes Broadcasting Corporation, here by the sea, at the edge of the English Channel and at the foot of the South Downs. We shall be broadcasting from roughly 4 o'clock in the afternoon, most days, Monday to Friday. The weekends we have off, don't you understand? It's very nice to have a little bit of time off from the very serious business that there is broadcasting to you, bringing you a whole host of interesting features, including things such as slugs that go bang in the night and tins of beef that are rolled down hills on windy days. This is the VBC, not to be confused now with the former BBC. No licence is required to watch this station. Thank you. It's all a load of rubbish, really. But there we go. BBC, I noticed they started off with a bald man in a very similar studio. I've tried to sort of reproduce that studio here, which is why I've chosen to do it in this fashion, as I'm sure you can see. It's rather unique and genuine and authentic, even. He thinks he's funny, doesn't he? He's not funny at all. In 1948, it's Prince Charles's birthday. Well, he's the king now, isn't he? So not 48 years ago, 1948, which is like, whatever it is, 70, what is he, 70 something or other. Quite old, anyway. Old enough to know better. But he's now the king, and God bless the king, is what we say. And in 1969, on this day, the BBC started to transmit in colour. After that, black and white load of old nonsense, and this is what the colour looks like. It's lovely, isn't it? Do you remember going from black and white and having a black and white television and all that nonsense to having and then a colour? They were the days, weren't they, when you could have a lovely colour set. Great big television that warmed up the room. You didn't have to worry about putting the gas fire on. The valves in the back a bit kept it all going. And you didn't, it's funny, isn't it? Those old valves in the back of the television. I think of these days when you think of RGB, don't you? This sort of red, green, blue. It'd be funny if you opened up the back and there was a red valve, a green valve and a blue valve that was making the pictures. Because how many times did you ever think, did you ever ask your mum this? I remember did the people actually live in that box? The people who the people on the screen. Anyway, that doesn't matter. Right, ladies and gentlemen, that was just a bit of fun there with the old BBC. We like a bit of fun on the BBC. Now, how do I get out of this? Oh, yes, it's time for a bit of sensible stuff because the lovely Julia has come in and we nipped downstairs to record a little bit about the English couple earlier today. But Julia has something that we want to do and I'm sure you'll love to see us get up to. So here we go. Well, we're down in the kitchen and Julia has got a very remarkable book. I know people like our cooking stuff, so what have you got, Julia?
The Perfect Christmas Cooking Book.
It's a lovely book, I have to say.
Every recipe you need to create and enjoy the festive season with family and friends.
I, in the past, have cooked a turkey at Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
I've made a reasonable stab at roasts on my Essie.
Did a dang fine one last night.
And thank you very much. And also, I've done alternative Christmas meals, like a chili for the, because sometimes when you've got the family, they're going from one place to another.
Yeah.
And so they'll have turkey here and then turkey there. So I was doing some different things when my kids would come to me on Boxing Day or something like that. But this year, I thought it would be nice to do some cooking with you because we are a couple now.
Are we?
Yeah, we are. People may not know. So this is your book. So
this is my book.
Not so much. What what do you call it? Recipes? What
It's a cookbook.
cooking? Yes, I know, but what do you call the finished product? What foods? There you go. What foods do you recommend from your
What foods
cookbook
do I recommend? Well,
for Christmas?
Well, there's a lot in here that's
I know.
very good. There's let's go for the puddings.
Yeah.
There's a nice recipe for a Christmas pudding actually.
You don't like Christmas
I
pudding?
don't like Christmas pudding.
I love Christmas pudding.
But
I don't know why you can't like it. It's got all
I
lots
think
of
it's
good...
the brandy, isn't it?
Is it?
Yeah, it's the alcohol. I'm not.
Oh, okay. Maybe you
dunno.
could make it without the brandy.
Maybe I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
No.
The point is, I'd be delighted to make one with you.
Yes.
Just because I don't
now
want to
is
eat
the time
it.
you've got to make it, haven't you? You've
Yes,
got to be
because it
making
has
it
to
now.
steep for weeks.
Yes.
Apparently.
I guess if you're not that worried about the alcohol, then perhaps it doesn't have to steep so much. I don't know. What other food stuff?
Christmas spiced pancakes.
Oh, they sound nice, don't they?
They do,
Spiced
don't they?
pancakes, spiced with things like
Spiced
cinnamon,
with, mixed spice,
mixed spice.
cranberries, mixed peel, mixed nuts chopped,
Oh, lovely. Yeah, that
vanilla
sounds good.
extract, dark rum.
Oh yeah, dark. Oh, it means we've got to buy some alcohol, haven't we?
Because we don't one of those Christmases.
we don't really drink, you see. But anyway, what else have we got? in
Chocolate truffles.
there? Show the picture. Chocolate truffles. Look at that. Brilliant, and they're nicely presented. It's a beautiful book, nicely presented.
Yes, it's very tactile with its special edging. I don't know if you can see that.
Oh yes, crimped almost.
Yes.
What else have you got?
Chocolate Florentines. I've never heard of a Florentine before, but
And they're like a sort of a crystallised biscuit, aren't they? Of some
yeah.
description.
Whole blanched almonds, roughly chopped, flake almonds, toasted, mixed peel, undyed glacé cherries. Except I'd be tempted to use maraschino
There's a
cherries.
lot of sugar in
It
these
is.
puddings, isn't it? These
But
are
there's
these all puddings?
Christmas.
Is these all basically puddings? It's not.
These are all the sweet bits.
These are the sweet bits.
It's not all. That's not all they do in here.
Oh, I see.
There's
Oh,
these
yes.
gorgeous spiced winter vegetables.
Ah, lovely.
It's very rustic.
And what is that? When it says winter vegetables, they look like they've been roasted.
They do. They are roasted.
What are they? Roasted
they're
peppers?
Carrots. Hang on. That's it. Parsnips, carrots, onions, red onion, leeks, garlic cloves, virgin olive oil, mild chili powder, paprika, and salt and pepper.
Lovely. I
Basically.
mean, I think these sort
I've
of...
made that one.
Have you?
That was one of that and the glazed
And is that
gammon.
spiced?
Oh yes, with
Cinnamon?
mild chili powder
Oh,
and
chili powder.
paprika.
Oh, and paprika. Fair enough. Lovely. I think the thing about these cookery books is that they just give you ideas, don't they? Christmas comes and you think, oh, it's the same old, and sometimes you just want something a bit different. And it's very nice.
Glazed gammon. As you can see, the ribbon is in that page.
Oh yes,
That's the last
glazed
one I read.
gammon.
Look at that.
And we had we were cooking last night actually, and we had a bacon loin
Yeah, a bacon joint.
joint, and it was very nice. You boil it, and then to get the salt out because it's been salted, and then you roast it.
Roasted it. And we actually did a part of the glazed gammon
Yes.
recipe because I remember that was the last thing I did 2 years ago actually. And I did it with the spiced vegetables. But yeah, we put the honey on the
Honey, we glazed it,
bacon
didn't we? Yeah.
loin last night. It was very
So what have you got there?
This is something I would love to try. Festive beef Wellington.
Now I'm not very good on red
Red meat.
yeah,
Oh yes,
on
because
rare.
of the
So
so that might be something I do without you then.
Well, I don't mind it if it's cooked well. If you did
Yes.
half and half, and then you took your half out, and then I put mine back
Yeah,
in. Because when I have meat, I like to know it's absolutely 100% dead. I don't want it to
You don't want
get
it
up.
walked through the kitchen.
No.
I got told off for saying it last time.
Yeah, I
by
don't
some
want it to sort of
vegetarian.
get
I'm
up from the
sorry.
thing and go, it was just a mild wound. Because sometimes it just
Tis
looks...
but a flesh wound,
Exactly. That's how
but a scratch.
That's how I think of these things. And the thought of that warm blood going down there. I mean, I can
Well,
eat an animal, but I do like it to be
yeah.
charcoaled.
Yeah. Yes, I like to actually taste the meat instead of the carbon.
Ooh. No, I like the carbon.
Some things we're just chalk and cheese on, aren't we?
They are,
And that's one of them.
absolutely, yeah.
Because you like mushrooms too, don't you?
I do love mushrooms.
I hate them.
Yeah,
I hate them. I can't stand them.
How do
They're
we
disgusting.
How do we ever keep together? I don't know.
I don't mind the flavour. You
Mm.
know, if they've been in a food, I'll eat the food like a stroganoff.
Yes.
That uses mushroom powder. So,
Yes.
so I like stroganoff.
Powdered mushroom.
But
Give us one more,
anyway,
and then we must...
But the beef Wellington thing,
Yes.
because it uses mushrooms around the edge of the
would you
meat there.
eat that then?
No, we'd have to do half and half, wouldn't we? So
Oh,
the
I see.
half that we'd put back in would have the mushrooms, and the other half it's just going to be onion.
Yeah, so you can see that Christmas in the Vobes...
Gonna be fun.
In the Richard and Julia household is going to be a little bit of give and take. And that's... Christmas time is a time where arguments do start, so you'll have to keep watching the English couple version of this to see if we are at daggers drawn. And finally then, checkerboards.
Checkerboards.
Which is what, cake? Which is what, vanilla and chocolate or something?
I think.
Show the picture.
I think I actually did try these ones. They're chocolate and are orangey flavoured.
Right.
There's some vanilla in there as well and everything. But yeah, that was fun.
Well, there you go. Thank you. We will watch this space and we will get some more festive cooking going on. Excellent. And that will be my lovely little
And
insert.
a thumbnail.
And now... Well, there we go. How about that? I thought I'd edited the end a little bit better than that, but there we are. You saw us getting up and going, oh, well, there we are. That's all fine. And so it is. Marvellous. Well, as I say, this is a Mickey Mouse Productions. I just need some big ears and I'd be all right, although Big Ears is out with Noddy at the moment. So that was our cookbook, and I'm sure you'd love to see it. I was just watching that back. Unfortunately, when I play it into the show live, I can't hear it for some reason, and I've got to look into the technical aspects of that. I can't hear it, and all I can say is it looks bloody lovely, all those lovely colours, and you can imagine the smells of all that food. It's rather delectable. Right, it's time for some emails, so let's go into the email box and see who's been in touch with us today. And David has been in touch, and he has said, Richard, I have written an ode to Richard and Julia. So let's go and have a look and see what his ode is. I'll read it with you. Here we go. Ode to Richard and Julia. He goes by the handle of Vobes, or you could say the Bald Explorer. You may spot him in retro-style clothes. He has a debonair aura. If you're in need of something to watch, why not try the delights of YouTube? This fella is really top-notch. Some say cooler than Ice Cube. You may notice a stylish cravat. Please don't find this peculiar. And he sports a dandy top hat. That's lovely. Of course, so is Julia. This couple will light up your screen with films of wit and such laughter. A fine duet, if that's your scene. Made in England, if that's what you're after. So now we have double the fun, the better half in purple regalia. After all is said and done, they're better than Burton and Taylor. From David, Joanne and Leonie. Thank you so much. I didn't read that terribly well. Doing my best here to press the buttons and read and all the rest of it. But no, thank you, David. That was absolutely lovely. We should publish that somewhere on a big piece of paper and hold it in the town and see if anybody takes any notice. Susan wrote to us. She said, Richard and Julia, hi. Just sharing a photo of my husband and I. Crossing from Seaview Road in Worthing. I am in the foreground and he's on the left in the days when he had a lot of hair. We went on to marry in 1978 at St. Mary's Church, Roman Catholic Church in Worthing. Very much enjoying the show. Thank you both, Susan and John. So she's in the foreground and he is on the left. Let's have a little gander at the picture then, and so we can work out where that is. She's in the foreground, he's on the left. Blimey, look at that. Yes, there you go. How marvellous. 1970s, she reckons that picture was taken, early 70s, and then they got married, 8 years later, I suppose, down on, that looks like it's on Worthing Marine Parade on the seafront there. It's rather lovely. Thank you very much for that. Right, that's the webcam. Just so you know, pressing the wrong button again. I don't know why I do this. There are easier ways of putting a video. I could just turn the camera on and just waffle like I did, or take the van out into the countryside, just turn the camera on and waffle. And here am I trying to do homemade television. It is absolutely ridiculous. Right, where were we? That was Susan. Peter got in touch. Oh, Peter, now, what have you got to say for yourself today, Peter? He says, Richard and Julia, I was doing a bit of adult training course in the Scouts, as I was once a beaver leader, part of a course that was about to teach them about religion. And we had to write a section on religion. I did express that Scouts is not like school. It's more to do with going on an adventure and stuff and learning skills. As an atheist and heathen, I was not happy about this. I was brought up of C of E, but as I grew up, I realised that having an imaginary friend was not for me. If I was to pick a religion, I'd be a pagan. But pagans believe in gods. My dad always called me an earth child. Julia would know what I'm talking about. Anyway, the scout leader who was running the course said I could write about something that I believed in. So I wrote these 4 poems about seasons, starting from spring. Maybe you could ask your viewers what their thoughts are on the subject. I don't have a problem with people of religion. They just seem to have a problem with me. I've been called a devil worshipper and all sorts because I don't believe in God. But I can't be because I don't believe in the devil. It's funny how they have a go at me and then try to start an argument. Hence, a little war breaks out. And this is why I don't believe in religion, as 99% of wars all start because of a religion. Yes, all wars start because of the religion. It is a strange old thing, and I absolutely agree with you. I mean, I'm the same as you, Peter. I'm not a believer. I respect those people who want to believe and all of that. It's entirely up to them. It's just not for me. But, people do want to persuade you. But I think that's part of the thing, isn't it? They have seen the light. We're in the dark. We haven't seen the light. I haven't seen the light. I've no idea. I mean, I haven't seen a ghost. My mother and father both died. I thought if any time I would see a ghost, I thought my mum and dad would at least try and make some contact with me. But no, they've left me. They've abandoned me here. Mind you, their parents had abandoned them and their parents before them had abandoned them. So whatever. Anyway, so Peter went on and did this poem. There's a number of them, obviously 4 seasons, and we're just going to read one of them. And this is called Autumn, as we've had such marvellous, lovely weather recently in autumn. The sun is starting to lower, daylight is getting slower, leaves are starting to fall, not so many birds will call. Mother Nature, she starts to rest, beauty at her very best. Trees have left a carpet of gold and red, wildlife storing food, getting ready for bed. Lovely poem. Thank you very much, Peter, for that. So there we go. How are we doing on our time? We've just got time to look at the film of the week. This is made in England, and I very much support the English film industry. I think we've had some amazing films, and in the past I've made a couple of films about some of the films that I love, including what was his name? The Happy Breed was one, a Noel Coward play that was adapted into a film by David Lean, and what's his? I keep wanting to say Passport to Pimlico, but I'm not talking about that. I can't even remember the name, and the pressure is on me to try and remember the name of the thing. And it's to do Pimpernel Smith. Thank you. Got nothing to do with Passport to Pimpernel Smith with Leslie Howard. There's another one. And Whistle Down the Wind. Well, this is another film that I watched many, many years ago. I just thought it was a charming film, very lovely. Julia and I managed to acquire a copy of it recently, and we watched it. And it's an absolute. If you haven't seen it, I would recommend it. Now, it does go under the name of Laughter House, which is a very peculiar name, but it's also known as Singleton's Pluck. It's about a farmer, Norfolk farmer, who, due to union problems, wants to get his geese to market in Smithfield Market in London. But due to union problems, they won't give him any transport. And so in order to save the day, he has to walk them, however many miles it is, a couple of 100 miles or 100 miles, these geese all the way. This film was made in 1984. It's a charming film. I've got some photos to show you, some still frames from it, with the cast in it as well. So let's have a look at those, if I can work out how to do that again. Let's come back up to here, come out of there, into there. So we've got Penelope Wilton and Bill Owen as part of the cast, and we have Ian Holm. Here he is in a particularly pensive mood. He's the Norfolk farmer who is trying to rustle everybody up to help him on this. It was shot in February 1984. Here he is, covered in mud, desperately trying to persuade his wife that this is the right thing to do. And here we go. He's got his farm hands helping him. Now, they filmed apparently with 350 geese, which was lent to them. And they follow... It's the story of bringing these geese down to London on the country roads as far as they can, and then they eventually bring them into London. It's all fraught, as you can imagine, with conflict and problems, like most good films would be. And not least these two behind Penelope Wilton there, Bill Owen and the other chap in the cowboy hat, are union members, and they keep sort of conniving to strike and not help, but then they come back to assist. Penelope Wilton there is particularly good in this film as an angry mother at some point. She does some, we always think of her as a national treasure, and she's very delightful with a beautiful voice. But here she really gets very angry at her daughter and her husband, and it is interesting to see how it develops. Here's another snapshot of a scene with these amazing geese, that how they managed to control them in real life, I have no idea. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful film. Here we go. They're going down a country road, and the lorry is bearing down on them, and they're trying to contain the geese. It's incredible. In the pub, Ian Holm playing Singleton. Bob Singleton, I think he plays the character, is constantly having to sort of reassess, can he get them down to London or not? And as I say, Bill Owen and the other chap there are sort of conspiring to stir things up a bit, but they do stay with him. There are all sorts of problems with motorbikeists coming along, motorcyclists frightening the geese, and it is just very lovely. Here they are in convoy in two vehicles. Danger, geese on the road. Look at that. It's a lovely film. Stephen Moore is also in it. He played Marvin, the paranoid android, in The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and he is the producer of a television crew that goes along with them, and is sort of stirring up trouble really as he films what goes on. But it all comes good in the end. It's a lovely film, 1984. I believe that they were making it. It was directed by Richard Eyre, by the way, who did a lot in the theatre and did a few interesting films. One called Tumble Down, which was about the Falklands. And I seem to remember I did a bit of extra work in that many, many years ago in London. And I remember hearing the name Richard Eyre, and he was supposed to be some, really, really important. And I did watch him doing his directing, but I was younger then, took it all in, and I can't remember much about it. All I remember was being in uniform, as I used to do a lot of that extra work. Anyway, there we go. That's it. I think I've got through all the bits and pieces. I've got a pile of tins I want to show you, but I'm going to show you those in another occasion. They're given to me by the lovely Ellie, who worked at the Dolphin. She brought in some memorabilia, which we have in the back here, which actually is looking a bit dark. I forgot to put the extra light on. Never mind. Anyway, that's it from us. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed today's show with the old Baldy there, having a lot of fun. But thanks. Until tomorrow, let's hope we have something more concrete and interesting. That's it from me. Look after yourself, and I'll see you then. Ta-ta.